Hi everyone. Good morning. It's still technically morning where I am. 11:35 a.m. Wednesday, July 13th, 2022. Bitcoin was down and then up today. Not actually up from where it was 24 hours ago, but up significantly from where it had dropped to. Currently, we're at $19,794.63. Ethereum is at $1,088.15. And my favorite microcap token, Giddy, is down 1.88%. It's at 5.815 cents. Ugh, breaking my heart, Giddy. But of course, the big news today is not about my favorite microcap token. It is about CPI, Consumer Price Index, and inflation numbers, which came in this morning. Michael Saylor, of course, is immediately on this. The CPI number, if you haven't heard, is 9.1%. This tweet from Michael Saylor: annual inflation in the U.S. dollars, Consumer Price Index is 9.1%. Other currencies continue to weaken against the dollar year over year. U.S. dollar to Australian dollars, 10%. The U.S. dollar to the Great Britain pound is 16%. The U.S. dollar to the euro is 17%. The U.S. dollar to the Japanese yen is 24%. The U.S. dollar to the Turkish lira is 102%. It's just a matter of time before the world discovers one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. If it's not clear, what Saylor is pointing out here is that everything is inflating, all of it. All the fiat currencies, all the national currencies, they're all declining in value relative to real goods that people buy. It's just a question of which one's declining quicker. And as much as we lament the decline of the US dollar here, it is in fact stronger than many other national currencies. What does that say? How do you interpret that? Do you take that as a strong dollar or a very sad state of affairs for national currencies the world over? I'll take the latter. Little Red Bull this morning. I need the wake-up juice, man. I am so tired right now. Yesterday was my 9-year anniversary, and my wife went out on a date. Went to Sundance Resort, where the Sundance Film Festival happens. We had a lovely, delicious dinner, and then we took the moonlit chairlift ride to the top of the mountain and back. It was really nice, but I got home late, and I'm super tired right now. All right, back to inflation. Global inflation rates. Here's a few more from Bitcoin Magazine tweeting this. These flags, if you don't recognize them, that's the flag of Lebanon at the top. Lebanon at 211% inflation, Sudan at 192% inflation, Zimbabwe at 192% inflation, Venezuela at 167% inflation, and Syria at 139% inflation. As bad as things are in the United States, they are much, much worse off in many other countries. Many other countries. You remember we saw in a recent live stream yesterday or the day before a mob of people flooding into the presidential palace of Sri Lanka. It might be because they have 54.6% annual inflation. Yikes. There's just a lot of unrest. And when the money breaks, when money dies, it is not good. I was reading a book called When Money Dies. Actually, let's pull that up. When Money Dies book. When Money Dies. I struggled with this. I struggled finishing this. I have not finished it. It was published in 2010. It talks about Weimar Germany and what happened there. And frankly, I just get lost in a lot of the history. There's a lot of historical documents that are cited and brought up. And the vernacular of Weimar Germany is very different from present-day America, where I live. So it was a struggle, but the one thing that did come across loud and clear in there is the incredible far-reaching volatility that when money dies, everything becomes unstable and nobody is safe. Nobody gets out of that clean. It's not like if you own land and you own productive assets, you'll be just fine. You'll fare maybe better than the next guy, but you're not going to be fine. This is bad for everybody when money dies. And P.S., it's happening everywhere. I've mentioned the Biden administration and their refusal to take any ownership of this. It's like they're just full-time apologists. They're just like, it's not our fault. We didn't do it. Putin did it. The greedy corporate overlords did it. They're making excuses, and Cameron Winklevoss pointed this out this morning on Twitter. He points to the narratives around inflation and how people and headlines and politicians will blame it on other things. Inflation broken down by month and the reason for the inflation. October 2021 at 6.2% inflation, it was transitory. In November, 6.8% inflation, it was greedy corporations. In December 2021 at 7% inflation, it was supply chain bottlenecks. It's not to say that these things don't play a hand. They absolutely do. There were absolutely supply chain bottlenecks. It's pretty well demonstrated that corporations have increased their margins because they can right now. It's transitory. It was never transitory, but that was a nice thing to tell people. 2022 in January, 7.5% inflation. It was supply chain bottlenecks again. 7.9% in February. It was oil prices. At 8.5% in March, it was the Putin price hike. That was a creative one. Yeah, Vladimir Putin made inflation happen. I didn't realize he was in charge of our monetary policies. That's crazy. That's wild that Vladimir Putin got so much control over the United States monetary policies. At the end of the day, you guys, this is happening because money printers printed money. That's it. That's it. Everything else is a marginal contributor, right? Or the money printers printing money allow these other things to happen. They amplify volatility. You need sound money. At the ground level, at the foundation of your economy, you need sound money. And money printers printing money ex nihilo out of nothing when they think we need it, and playing with interest rates when they think we need it, that's not a real free market economy, and that's not sound money. I'm being very serious when I say Bitcoin fixes this. This is the thing. Eric Voorhees is one of my favorite people in the space. I really respect and like Eric Voorhees quite a lot. People dunking on Bitcoin because it hasn't outperformed dollars during this high inflation are forgetting one important thing. Bitcoin will go back up. The dollar only goes down. Zoom out, my friends. That's a mantra that I say over and over and over. It's kind of a stoic mantra even, right? The things that are just here and now that might be upsetting you and frustrating you, the low price, whatever it may be, don't let that upset you. Zoom out. Look at the big picture. If I ever get like a mantra tattooed on my body, it might just be zoom out. Let's zoom out and look at some things that give us context. From Swan Bitcoin, dollars have lost 90% of their purchasing power since 1950. Now, I've seen graphs like this before. They often cite from 1913 when the Federal Reserve was created. This is the first time I've seen one that starts from 1950 and demonstrates how dramatic the shift has been just in that time, right? Since the boomers were born, right? We don't have to go to my grandparents. We're just going to my folks, my parents. My parents were born at the end of the 1940s. This is fully in their lifetime. In the lifetime of my mom and dad, the United States dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power. Yikes. Starting in 1950, look at that decline. This is not only ongoing right now, it's accelerating. That's the 9.1% that you just saw. That graph, as dire as it looks, might just drop off a cliff over here on the far right, that little bit at the end. That's what appears to be happening. This, a tweet from Jeff Booth. Jeff Booth, the author of The Price of Tomorrow, another book that I did read and finished. The Price of Tomorrow, Jeff Booth. This was a great book. I totally recommend it. He makes the argument that inflation is bad, full stop, period. 2% inflation is not ideal for anybody. In fact, what we would be better off with is a deflationary currency. It's not a book about Bitcoin per se. It's about inflation and deflation and what this does to our economy. A deflationary currency would produce a radically different set of behaviors for the people who held deflationary money. That's what we're seeing in Bitcoin. Okay, so Jeff Booth on Twitter. There is no natural inflation rate. It is a design requirement of a debt-based system, which is in the process of failing. It will unfortunately be ugly. On the other side, there is hope. The sooner you realize it, the more hopeful you might be. #Bitcoin. His book is not a book about Bitcoin, but it is implicitly about Bitcoin because what other deflationary currency is there? What else is out there that deflates, that increases in value over time and is money, has the qualities of money, acts as money? There really are not many options. Some people will tell you who love Ethereum that Ethereum is ultrasound money. I think Jeff Booth might have some words with those folks. There's a reason Jeff Booth is putting hashtag Bitcoin on here, the man who has studied deflationary currency and what it looks like, what makes good money. There's a reason he has hashtag Bitcoin on here and not ultrasound money, hashtag Ethereum or whatever. Those people are deluding themselves. They're hyping themselves up. They're telling themselves a story that they want to be true. It is my belief that they have not dug deep enough. Keep going, guys. Keep looking deeper on the question of what is money and what makes money work. You'll find that Ethereum doesn't fit the bill. Moving on from Satoshi Stacker, who has a blue check, but I do not know who this person is. Has 124,000 followers, followed by Sam Bankman-Fried. Wow. Anyway, nobody has lost money holding Bitcoin for more than 2 years. That's a fact. You hold Bitcoin for 2 years, you will be ahead. I think there is one exception here. If you had bought Bitcoin at the absolute top of the 2017-2018 bull run, and you held it till right now, so it's not 2 years, we're talking like 2018 to now, 4 years later, you might be a little bit below where you bought. But this is a historical anomaly. The vast majority, 99.99% of people who ever bought Bitcoin, if they held it for 2 years, they were increasing their purchasing power. Most of them increasing their purchasing power dramatically. Again, look back over here. Eric Voorhees, the dollar goes down, Bitcoin will recover. And we've seen it demonstrated. The dollar has declined dramatically since 1950. Hold on to your Bitcoin, guys. I don't know why anybody sells. I don't know why people exit a position at a loss. I mean, the best guess I can give is that they don't actually understand what they bought or held. They don't understand what they had in their hands. So there's a lot of education that still needs to happen. I can do my small part to help that happen. Part of why Bitcoin is so valuable is because the network is independent of other institutions. It doesn't need intermediaries, middlemen managing it. There's no middle managers in Bitcoin. And it's just up and it works all the time. Bitcoin is the most reliable network ever created. BitcoinUptime.org reports it at 99.987529 and change percent. It's just up all the time. It doesn't go down. It is like the internet itself in that regard. When has the internet, all of it in its entirety, gone down? It doesn't happen, because when you have a decentralized network, if there's a failure somewhere in the network, traffic just routes around that. Bitcoin does the same thing. Kevin Kelly, the founder of Wired magazine, gave a talk years ago about the internet as a single machine, and how as a machine it is one of the most durable machines we've ever built, with the most operating time continuously of any of the machines humankind has ever built. Bitcoin is on par with the internet itself in that regard. This is interesting. Brian Deese, who has a blue check mark, who's a White House director of the National Economic Council, says, an important context ahead of tomorrow's CPI release, this morning's CPI release. Headline inflation from last month will be significantly affected by stale gas price data. He's saying that gas prices have gone down, and so core inflation is going to be a more important number, and in fact, the inflation number that does include gas is going to be affected by this. Like current, right now, inflation would be a little bit lower than what's being reported, because gas prices have come down pretty dramatically in the last couple weeks. So, interesting observation. In the big picture, zoom out, I still think that Eric Voorhees is right. The dollar only goes down, Bitcoin will recover. In the micro, if you zoom way in, there's all kinds of volatility, including CPI might go down a bit more because gas prices have declined. Okay. This from somebody on Twitter, or on Reddit. Today I understand how important Bitcoin is. A few hours ago, my bank called me to tell me that they will lock my account because I'm going against the rules. When I asked what I did, they told me about one deposit and one withdrawal from Binance 6 months ago. Apparently, they decided today that they don't like crypto. It's crazy, and that shows me how early we are. We just take care, guys, and careful with the banks. I've had similar experiences. My credit union had no problem wiring money into Coinbase, but when I wanted to wire money back into my bank account, they wouldn't do it. They would not accept a wire from Coinbase. And I kind of lost my cool. It's not something I'm super proud of. But in the bank branch, I was like, so let me get this straight. I could wire money from my bank account into Coinbase, and you have no problem with that. But when I want to bring money back from Coinbase into my bank account, you won't do it. Why is that? And they said, well, we can't accept wires from institutions. We can only accept wires from individuals. And I'm like, my guy, it's my account. It's my Coinbase account that you're wiring from, right? I'll show you. I'm doing it on the app right now. I'm wiring from my account to my account, and they wouldn't do it. I've encountered this kind of thing over and over and over. Our legacy system, people talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency being really complicated. Try moving your money around in more than just tiny amounts using Venmo, right? Venmo does a very good job, and similar apps do a very good job of obscuring the complexity. But if you actually get into the back end of like how banks move money around, it's a nightmare. It's slow. There are high fees. There's human error. I've encountered all of that personally in my own business dealings with banks. I do not have a warm view of legacy banking. And I am eager for these systems to replace them because they do this. They do this kind of stuff where they're totally inconsistent. They'll decide that a transaction that you made 6 months ago is now against their policies and they would like you to leave their bank. And it's like, well, it's my money, guys. You shouldn't have to get permission to use and spend your own money. 11 years of hating Bitcoin on Reddit. Let's look back on the predictions of anti-Bitcoiners. This is a long post. It's basically showing that a lot of people hated Bitcoin and said that it was going to fail, and they've all been wrong. It would be interesting to put together a comprehensive history. I guess 99 Bitcoins has essentially done this with their Bitcoin obituaries. Bitcoin obituaries. We've talked about this before. It's all of the headlines of people who predicted that Bitcoin was dead, who declared that it was dead. Deaths by year, there have been many. And I believe this number has to decline at this point, but I mean, it still happens. Bitcoin is an unraveling Ponzi scheme. That's somebody on Twitter. Virtual currency is a Ponzi scheme. That's Forbes. Oh, gosh. From July 12th of this year. Come on, Forbes. The sad truth is Forbes will print anything. Forbes is not a reputable news outlet. It's a big media brand, but don't look to them for verified, credible information. Anybody can get stuff published in Forbes, and we live in a very unhealthy media environment. This is another r/cryptocurrency post on Reddit. Three Arrows Capital borrowed millions from Voyager and BlockFi users' deposits and bought crypto dickbutt NFTs. If you're wondering where all your funds were locked up in these platforms, this is where it ended. This is one of the wallets of 3AC. Okay? And then we look at what they're holding. Well, looks like they bought this NFT. What a great investment with user funds. I'm sure that will retain value. This is what the Bitcoin hardliners will point to when they say that everything else is garbage. Because a lot of it is. This, I would say, going out on a limb here, folks, but I think this is garbage. And certainly garbage that this was purchased by a VC investment firm using depositor funds borrowed from another place where people thought it was safe, right? All kinds of bad action here. 3AC, it turns out, they're not just incompetent. I think they're criminal. We'll come back to that in a bit. Here's a tweet from Newt Svanholm. Newt is the quintessential Bitcoin hardliner. He has written about this topic extensively. Everything over 21 million is a meme that he has propagated endlessly. Huge advocate of Bitcoin hardline-ism. And he's retweeting Christine Lagarde, the president of the European Central Bank. And Christine Lagarde tweeted welcoming Croatia to the EU, basically. Welcome to the EU. Now you can use the euro currency, which is dramatically inflating and losing value. Newt, the Bitcoin hardliner, said, people of Croatia, this woman is literally in charge of a euro printer. Don't fall for this BS. Convert your kunas into Bitcoin instead, now. I'm curious. I don't know Newt's nationality. He might be Croatian. I'd have to look into that. Don't know. Interesting enough, though, Christine Lagarde, if you do not know, head of the European Central Bank, has had criminal charges in the past. Criminal conviction of negligence in allowing the misuse of public funds. This is now the woman who is in charge of regulating and making sure that other people manage their funds properly. She has a criminal conviction for negligence in allowing the misuse of public funds. I don't question that these people are smart. Somebody like Christine Lagarde or somebody like Jerome Powell. I do not question that they're smart, that they're educated, that they're knowledgeable. I think they have false models of how the world works. I think they have undue expectations of central authorities, thinking that they can manage and control things. And they shouldn't be trusted, no matter how educated and smart and capable. You shouldn't have to trust any single entity or individual. That's the promise of these decentralized networks, is you can disintermediate. You do not have to trust some individual or some institution to take care of you. We've done that, been doing that for generations. As it turns out, that is often a very bad idea. You won't be taken care of, not in the sense that you want. They'll take care of you like the mob takes care of people. Yeah, we'll take care of you. They'll take care of themselves first. Newt's an interesting character. I should get to know more about him. He does run a YouTube channel, and he's an author. I'd be curious to read his book, Bitcoin, Everything Divided by 21 Million. I've watched many of the YouTube videos on his channel, and they are quite good. Even though I do not consider myself a Bitcoin hardliner, I do really like his videos. If you want to go look those up, I recommend watching those. They're interesting. They're well-produced. It's good stuff. From Bitcoin Archive, my Bitcoin hodling strategy. 1, have a separate income. This is something that a lot of people during a bull run forget about. They quit their job. I'm just a full-time trader. I'm a crypto trader. And then you see on their LinkedIn that they were like, a fry chef at McDonald's, and then they're a crypto trader, an NFT trader, and now they're a fry chef at McDonald's again, because the market is pretty unforgiving. If things go down, good luck making money. When the market is tanking, your best bet is to just preserve your money as best you can. Don't try to look for huge gains when the tide is going out. All right, have a separate income. Do something productive and meaningful in the world and make money from that. Invest only what you don't need for expenses, right? So if you have to spend money for rent, gas, groceries, insurance, whatever it may be, don't invest that and plan on pulling it out very soon in the near future. That's a bad strategy. You're going to put yourself in a bind. Buy the dips, like right now. Don't trade. That's an interesting one. Trading is exceptionally hard. Doing it successfully is very, very hard. It's a technical skill that has to be trained over years. I wouldn't say don't trade. I would say don't casually trade. Don't think that you can part-time trade. If you're going to do this, do it for real and plan on committing yourself to learning that skill over years. There are people who are very good at trading. It's not a bad thing to do. It's just a lot harder than a lot of people give it credit for. Never sell. That's another one that I take issue with. If you're increasing your purchasing power, then what good is that if you never use it to purchase, if you never sell that currency for goods and services? Well, you can borrow against it. How well did that work out for the people at BlockFi and Voyager and Celsius? I don't know. I think there are problems with the never sell strategy, even though I'm very sympathetic, and for the most part, I don't sell. And then wait. That's it. That's the strategy. Have a separate income. Invest only what you can what you don't need for expenses, buy the dips, don't trade, never sell, and wait. It's a good strategy. It's a good strategy. My objections notwithstanding, this is a pretty winning strategy. This is an interesting bit from On the Brink, a podcast from Castle Island Ventures. Castle Island Ventures is Nick Carter and his business partner, who is Matt Walsh. So this is largely Matt Walsh speaking, talking about Three Arrows Capital and talking about how they didn't make mistakes. They weren't irresponsible. They were fraudsters, full out. They were lying, cheating, and stealing, right? This wasn't just incompetence. This was active malice. And they borrowed from everybody. They took money from everybody and lied to those people. And when they went down, everyone went down. I think I got to wrap up here soon. I'm getting phone calls from people. On the Brink, that's a podcast that I might listen to a bit more, even though the hardliners seem to hate Nick Carter now. It doesn't change the fact that he's a really smart guy with whom I definitely would like to hear his input and perspective on things. From Pete Rizzo, another hardliner, explaining the dangers of inflation to bankers at $80 exactly 9 years ago. This is, if you don't know, this is Tour de Meester. Oh no. Tour has been in the space for a very long time. I actually spoke with Tour de Meester at a conference in 2013 in Atlanta, Georgia. It's where I first became aware of him, and he's a brilliant guy, great market analyst, and he basically predicted what we're experiencing now, that inflation was coming, that it was going to be really bad, that it was going to be everywhere, and there was going to be no way out except Bitcoin. These people who called the shots a decade ago, don't ignore them, right? Tour de Meester is one that you can pay attention to and listen to what he says and take it pretty seriously. If somebody is consistently predicting things well before they happen, those are the folks you need to pay attention to. Here's one from Pi Cycle Top. Forget the Bitcoin price. This is the most important and bullish chart you need. The number of plebs with more than one Bitcoin is going parabolic during a bear market. Never before has this happened. There are now more stackers than ever. When the next bull starts, you will be rewarded. So look at this. The market is going down, but the number of wallets holding is going up. Interesting chart, right? As the price goes down, the more people who seem to have confidence in this asset is increasing. This is not Bitcoin news, but I do think it's interesting tech news. It is incredible to observe how fast the tech world changes. Companies which seem unassailable suddenly disappear into footnotes of history. These are the most popular websites since 1993. And they dramatically jump around, and AOL is this titan that nobody can catch up to. But look, then comes Yahoo, and Yahoo overtakes them, and Yahoo grows dramatically. But look at these names. Do you recognize any of these names? Yahoo, GeoCities, Netscape. These are all throwbacks. These are all like, you know, you're nostalgic for GeoCities. It's kind of a laugh. Like, oh yeah, remember GeoCities? What a funny little site that was. Nobody takes any of these companies seriously anymore. The BBC was one of the top by traffic. That's crazy. Ask Jeeves. Let's jump ahead. This is from 2013. Now we finally have Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Yahoo. Yahoo is still in the top. Wow. Jumping up to 2019. Jumping up to 2022. This is a really interesting graphic. So if you want to check this out, I do recommend it. This guy, Vitalik, tweeted it. I don't think he's the creator of this graphic. I love seeing this kind of thing too, because there are people who call for antitrust, call for these companies to be broken up because they're just too powerful. Nobody will ever catch up to Google, YouTube, Facebook, etc. Well, guys, it's already happening. Like TikTok has already surpassed YouTube in views. TikTok is the competitor that nobody can touch now. I was watching a video yesterday on VidSummit. VidCon. VidCon is the annual YouTube conference, and they were talking about the most recent VidCon that just happened this summer and the noted marked difference in tone and behavior from the people there. The enthusiasm was down quite a lot because TikTok has sucked all the oxygen out of the room. It gets more views than YouTube. This guy, Scott Galloway, has become kind of the butt of a lot of jokes on Twitter over the last few years. He's written several books. One of those books is called The Four. It was about Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple. I read that book when it came out in 2017, end of 2017. It was really good. I quite liked it. And here's the thing about somebody like Scott Galloway. Again, these are not stupid people. Scott Galloway is a really smart guy, but his conclusions are sometimes hysterically wrong. He wrote this book, The Four, and I really liked it. But one thing that he did not include there that he then went on a speaking tour to talk to people about was that these four companies were so far ahead that they were untouchable, and we needed the government to come in and break them up, or they were just going to conquer the world and never, ever face any real competition. They were going to become the kings of Earth. Guys, get real. Facebook has come on really hard times. YouTube has been overtaken by TikTok. Innovation keeps happening. Go ahead and look at this chart, this motion graphic of tech titans over the years. None of these are going to reach escape velocity where they become untouchable forever. There's always going to be competition. That's what you need. You need more competition. You don't need more government intervention. All right, I do have to run. I just got a call that I need to take. It's been fun, team. Stack sats. Don't lose hope. Inflation's up, but 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. All right. We'll talk again soon. Bye.